The Arcturus system looked peaceful when the human fleet arrived. A yellow star burned in the center, surrounded by 7 planets. The Vraxian base was hidden on the 4th planet's largest moon, camouflaged to look like just another crater-filled rock. But Captain Minho's sensors could see through the disguise. Heat signatures, power readings, and ship emissions gave it away. The Vraxians had over 30 warships docked there, with more scattered throughout the system. "They're not expecting us," Commander Deho said, studying the tactical display. "Their patrol patterns are lazy. They think they're safe here." Minho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, his hands clasped behind his back. Around him, his crew worked quietly, efficiently. They knew what was coming. They were ready. "Open a channel to the other ships," Minho ordered. Captain Osora appeared on one screen, a fierce woman with a scar across her left cheek. Captain Beijahun was on another, young and eager. Captain Ryu Sung-yun was on the third, older and calm. "This is it," Minho said. "Once we attack, there's no going back. Earth will call us pirates. The Council will call us war criminals. The Vraxians will hunt us. Are you sure you want to do this?" "They killed our ambassador," Sora said flatly. "They plan to kill our colonists." "I'm sure." "I'm with Sora," Ji-hoon added. "Let's show them what happens when you mess with humanity." Sung-hyun just nodded. "My crew voted. We're unanimous. Let's do this." Minho felt pride swell in his chest. These were his people. These were humans. "All right. Here's the plan. The Retribution and Valiant will hit the shipyards on the eastern side. The Thunderstrike will launch fighters to take out their defense platforms. The Indomitable will strike their command center. We go in fast, we hit hard, and we don't stop until that base is rubble. Questions?" "Just one," Sora said with a grim smile. "When do we start?" "Now." The 4 ships broke formation and accelerated toward the moon. The Vraxians detected them too late. By the time their alarms started blaring, the Indomitable was already in firing range. "All weapons fire at will," Minho commanded. The ship's railguns roared to life. Magnetically accelerated projectiles screamed through space at incredible speeds, hitting the base's shields with devastating force. The shields held for 3 seconds, then collapsed. The next volley tore into the base itself, ripping through metal and stone. On another screen, Minho watched as Sora's Retribution launched a wave of missiles. They weaved through space like deadly fish, avoiding the Vraxians' defensive fire. When they hit the shipyards, explosions bloomed like flowers. 3 Vraxian ships died before they could even launch. The Valiant, smaller and faster, danced around a Vraxian destroyer. Captain Ji-hoon used his ship's speed to stay in the destroyer's blind spot, firing precise shots that crippled its engines. When the Vraxian ship tried to turn, Ji-hoon was already gone, moving to his next target. High above, Sung-hyun's Thunderstrike released its fighters. Lieutenant Park Min-ji led her squadron in a screaming dive toward the defense platforms. The Vraxian automated weapons tried to track the small, fast targets, but the human pilots were too good. They dodged, weaved, and returned fire with deadly accuracy. One by one, the platforms went dark. The Vraxians finally organized a response. A massive battlecruiser, easily twice the size of the Indomitable, moved to intercept. Its weapons ports opened, revealing dozens of plasma cannons. "Incoming fire," Deho warned. "Evasive maneuvers," Minho ordered. "Helm, pattern Echo 7. Helm Officer Ko Suho's hands flew across his controls. The Indomitable twisted and turned, moving in patterns that seemed random but were carefully calculated. The Vraxian plasma bolts missed, passing through empty space where the ship had been moments before. "They're used to fighting other aliens," Deho said. "Aliens who fight by the book with predictable tactics. They don't know how to handle us." "Good," Minho said. "Let's keep it that way." Weapons Officer Park Yaren target their bridge. "Full power." Yaren locked onto the Vraxian battlecruiser. "Locked, sir. Fire!" The railgun round hit the battlecruiser's bridge at a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic energy was enormous. The entire front section of the ship simply ceased to exist, vaporized by the impact. The rest of the ship went dark and began to drift. "Another one coming," Deho warned. "Actually, make that 3. Minho studied the tactical display. 3 more Vraxian warships were moving to engage, and more were launching from the base. The humans were outnumbered, but Minho had expected that. "Time to show them what we learned from our wars on Earth," he said. "All ships, Formation Delta, we're going hunting." The 4 human ships moved together, covering each other's flanks. When the Vraxians tried to flank them, they found that the humans had already anticipated the move. When they tried to overwhelm one ship with numbers, the other three came to its aid. The battle became a dance. The Vraxians had more ships, bigger guns, and stronger shields. But the humans had something the Vraxians didn't understand: flexibility. Every human captain made decisions independently, adapting to the battle as it unfolded. They didn't wait for orders from high command. They didn't follow rigid battle doctrine. They simply fought, using every trick and tactic they could think of. Agent Hyejin, watching from the Indomitable's tactical center, smiled. They're panicking. Look at their formation. It's falling apart. She was right. The Vraxian ships were trying to reform into their standard battle pattern, but the humans wouldn't let them. Every time they started to organize, a human ship would strike from an unexpected angle, forcing them to react instead of act. Their commander is trying to control everything, Deho observed. He's giving orders to every ship, telling them exactly what to do. It's too slow. By the time his orders reach his ships, the battle has already changed. That's their weakness, Minho said. They have a hierarchy, a chain of command that must be followed. We don't. Our captains think for themselves. Another Vraxian ship exploded under the combined fire of the Retribution and Valiant. The Thunderstrike's fighters swept through the battle space, targeting damaged ships and finishing them off. But the Vraxians had finally organized their response. Their remaining ships formed a defensive sphere around the base, concentrating their fire. The Indomitable's shields flickered under the assault. Shields at 40%, the engineer called out. Pull back, Minho ordered. Reform at rally point, Charlie. The 4 human ships withdrew, regrouping beyond the range of the Vraxian guns. Minho looked at the tactical display. They had destroyed or disabled 15 Vraxian ships, but more than 20 remained, and the base's shields were back online. Captain, Ensign Shin Jun-ho said from his station, I'm reading something strange from the base. They're transmitting on ancient frequencies, really old. I think they're trying to activate something. Activate what? Minho asked. I don't know, sir, but Junho's eyes went wide. Sir, there are structures waking up all over the moon. Power sources coming online. These readings are millions of years old. I think it's precursor technology. On the view screen, lights began to appear across the moon's surface. Huge structures rose from beneath the dust, ancient weapons that had slept for eons. They're trying to use the precursor defenses, Agent Hyejin breathed. But if those systems come fully online, they'll target everything, human and Vraxian alike. Minho made his decision in an instant. All ships, emergency retreat. Fall back to the edge of the system, move. The 4 ships turned and ran at maximum speed. Behind them, the ancient weapons fully activated. Beams of blue energy lanced out, striking Vraxian ships. The aliens screamed on all frequencies as their ships died, cut down by technology they couldn't understand or defend against. Within minutes, the Vraxian fleet was gone. The base was destroyed. The ancient weapons swept the moon clean of all modern technology, then went silent once more. The human ships hung at the edge of the system, watching. Minho's crew stared at the screens in silence. Did we just win? Jihoon asked over the comm. I think we did, Minho said slowly. The Vraxian strike fleet is gone. Their forward base is destroyed. And we didn't lose a single ship. What do we do now? Sora asked. Minho thought about Ambassador Park Jiwoo, about justice, about all the times humanity had been told to wait, to be patient, to accept alien authority. Now, he said, we send them a message. Open a channel to the Galactic Council. All frequencies, maximum broadcast power. When the channel opened, Minho spoke clearly and firmly. This is Captain Han Minho of the Earth Defense Forces. You murdered our ambassador. You thought we would accept your lies and your investigations that lead nowhere. You thought we were weak. You were wrong. The Vraxian strike fleet that was preparing to attack our colonies is destroyed. Their base is rubble. This is your only warning. Surrender those responsible for Ambassador Park's murder, or what happened here will happen to you. We are humanity. We do not forget. We do not forgive. And we are done asking for permission. He closed the channel. In the silence that followed, Deho spoke quietly. Captain, we just declared war on the galaxy. No, Minho said. They declared war when they killed our ambassador. We're just making sure they understand the rules. And rule number 1 is simple. Don't mess with humanity. The news of the Arcturus battle spread through the galaxy like fire. Humanity, the young species that everyone had dismissed as weak, had destroyed a Vraxian strike fleet. The Galactic Council erupted into chaos. Some species demanded immediate action against the humans. Others suddenly remembered urgent business elsewhere and refused to comment. The Vraxian Empire was humiliated. Their high command met in their war chambers on the homeworld, and their fury shook the walls. Grand Admiral Vexthor, commander of the Imperial fleet, stood before the military council. "These humans must be crushed," he hissed in his native tongue. "They have humiliated the Empire. They have destroyed our ships. This insult cannot stand." The council agreed. Within hours, over 200 Vraxian warships were mobilized. It was the largest battle fleet assembled in decades. Their destination, the Sigma sector, where the ancient precursor technology waited. If the humans wanted that sector, they would have to go through the entire Vraxian Empire. Captain Minho received the intelligence from Agent Heejin, who had her sources throughout the galaxy. 200 ships, Deho said, staring at the numbers. "We have 4. 5, Minho corrected. "Lieutenant Kim is back on duty, and she's brought us something useful." Kim Suman entered the bridge, still moving carefully because of her healing ribs. With her was Ensign Shin Junho, carrying a datapad that glowed with complex equations. "Captain," Suman said, "Junho has been studying the precursor technology in the Sigma sector. He thinks we can use it." "The ancient weapons?" Minho asked. "They attacked everything at Arcturus." "True," Junho said excitedly. "But they didn't attack randomly. They were programmed to eliminate unauthorized presence in their territory. If we can access their control systems, we might be able to tell them who is authorized and who isn't." "Can you do it?" Minho asked. "I need to get to one of the control facilities in the Sigma sector, and I'll need protection. The Vraxians will have the same idea." Minho looked at the star map. The Sigma sector was 3 days away at maximum speed. The Vraxian fleet would arrive in 5 days. It would be close. "All right," he said. "We go to Sigma. Deho, plot the fastest course. Suman, pick your best people for a ground team. Junho, prepare everything you need. We have one chance at this." The 4 human ships jumped into hyperspace, racing toward the Sigma sector. Behind them, the massive Vraxian fleet followed at a slower but steady pace. 3 days later, the human fleet emerged in the Sigma sector. It was beautiful and deadly. Asteroid fields drifted in complex patterns. A massive nebula filled one side of the sector, glowing pink and purple. And scattered throughout were the precursor facilities, ancient structures that had waited for millions of years. "There," Junho said, pointing to a large asteroid. "That facility has the strongest power signature. If we can access it, we can control the defense network." "Suman, take your team," Minho ordered. "Junho goes with you. We'll provide cover from orbit." Lieutenant Kim Suman led her team to the shuttle bay. With her were Sergeant Quan Minjae, a tough veteran with cybernetic arms, and Corporal Lee Hana, a young woman who was the best shot in the fleet. Junho came too, nervous but determined. The shuttle landed on the asteroid in a cloud of dust. The precursor facility rose above them, a structure of impossible geometry that hurt to look at. Its surface seemed to shift and change, never quite staying in one shape. "Creepy," Hana muttered. "Stay focused," Suman ordered. "Minjae, take point. Hana, watch our backs. Junho, stay in the middle, move out." They entered the facility through an opening that appeared when they approached. Inside, the corridors glowed with soft blue light. Strange symbols covered the walls, and the air hummed with power. Junho studied the symbols with his scanner. "This way. The control chamber should be at the center." They moved deeper into the facility. Behind them, they heard sounds. Heavy footsteps. Vraxian troops had landed on the asteroid too. "Double time," Suman ordered. "We need to reach that control chamber before they do." They ran through the twisting corridors. The Vraxians were faster, their powerful legs eating up the distance. Energy bolts flashed past Suman's head. She returned fire, her shots forcing the Vraxians to take cover. "There," Junho shouted. Ahead was a large chamber with a pedestal in the center. Strange holographic displays floated around it. "Go!" Suman shouted. "Minjae, Hana, with me. We hold them here." Junho ran into the chamber while the 3 soldiers formed a defensive line at the entrance. The Vraxians came around the corner, a dozen of them in heavy armor. Their weapons roared and the corridor filled with energy bolts. Minjae's cybernetic arms moved with incredible speed, his weapon firing controlled bursts. Hana picked off targets with precision shots. Suman coordinated their defense, calling out targets and positions, but there were too many Vraxians. More kept coming. For every one they dropped, 2 more appeared. "Junho," Suman shouted. "How much longer?" "I'm trying." Junho's hands moved across the holographic controls, his mind racing to understand technology that was ancient when humanity was still learning to use fire. A Vraxian grenade bounced into the corridor. "Down!" Minjae threw himself on it, his armored body absorbing the blast. He didn't get back up. "Minjae," Hana screamed. "Hold the line," Suman ordered, her heart breaking. "Don't let him die for nothing." Hana's face went cold. Her shots became more accurate, more deadly. But they were being pushed back step by step. Then Junho shouted in triumph. "I've got it! The system is activating!" The facility began to hum louder. The walls glowed brighter. And throughout the Sigma sector, ancient weapons came to life. In orbit, Captain Minho watched his sensors light up. "They did it. The precursor defenses are active." "Sir," the sensor officer called out, "the Vraxian fleet just entered the sector. Over 200 ships." Minho smiled coldly. "Good. All ships, scatter. Execute evasion pattern Omega. Stay away from the precursor facilities." The 4 human ships broke formation, each moving in different directions. They were small, fast, and highly maneuverable. The Vraxian fleet, in contrast, held its massive battle formation. They advanced in perfect lines following centuries of military doctrine. The precursor weapons opened fire. Blue beams of energy, thicker than a ship, lanced across space. They struck Vraxian vessels with impossible accuracy. Shields that could withstand nuclear weapons simply vanished. Armor that could resist any modern weapon was cut through like paper. Grand Admiral Vexthor watched in horror as his fleet died around him. "Break formation!" he screamed. "Scatter! All ships scatter!" But the Vraxian fleet was too large, too unwieldy. Changing course took time, and time was something they didn't have. The ancient weapons fired again and again, methodically eliminating every ship they detected. The human ships, small and agile, danced between the firing patterns. They had studied the precursor weapons at Arcturus. They knew how to avoid them. The Vraxians didn't. "Captain," Daiho said with awe in his voice, "they're trying to retreat. The entire fleet is running." "Don't let them," Minho ordered. "All ships pursue. Target their command vessel. It's time to end this." The 4 human ships turned and accelerated after the fleeing Vraxians. Vexthor's flagship was easy to spot. Larger and more ornate than the others, it was also slower. The Indomitable closed in. Minho stood on his bridge, watching the Vraxian ship grow larger on the view screen. "Hail them," he ordered. A Vraxian face appeared on screen. Vexthor looked old now, beaten. "What do you want, human?" "I want you to understand something," Minho said quietly. "You came here with 200 ships to crush 4. You came here with the power of an empire behind you, and you lost. Do you know why?" Vexthor said nothing. "Because you fight with fear," Minho continued. "Fear of disobeying orders, fear of breaking tradition, fear of thinking for yourselves. We fight with something stronger. We fight for our friends, for our homes, for justice, and we will never stop fighting. Surrender now, and you might survive this." "The Empire does not surrender," Vexthor spat. "Then the Empire dies." Minho closed the channel. "Fire." The Indomitable's railguns spoke one last time. The Vraxian flagship exploded in a ball of fire, taking Grand Admiral Vexthor with it. The remaining Vraxian ships fled the sector, broken and defeated. Over 150 Vraxian warships had been destroyed. The human fleet had lost no ships. On the asteroid, Lieutenant Suman and her team returned to the shuttle. They carried Sergeant Minje's body with them. He had given his life so that humanity could win. They would make sure he was remembered. As the shuttle lifted off, Hana looked back at the precursor facility. We controlled technology that old, that powerful. What does that say about us? It says, Suman replied, that humanity is ready for the stars, and anyone who tries to stop us will regret it. In orbit, the 4 human ships regrouped. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had defeated the Vraxian Empire. But Minho knew this was just the beginning. Set course for Earth, he ordered. We're going home. Home, where he would face the consequences of his actions. Home, where a court-martial awaited. Home, where everything would change, but he had kept his promise. He had gotten justice for Ambassador Park Ji-woo, and the galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. Earth's orbital defense stations tracked the 4 ships as they approached. Every news network in the solar system was broadcasting live. The crews that had destroyed the Vraxian Empire's fleet were coming home, and the world watched. Captain Han Minho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching his homeworld grow larger on the screen. It was beautiful, that blue and green marble spinning in space. He had fought for it, disobeyed orders for it, and now he would face judgment for it. Captain, the communications officer said, Earth Defense Command is ordering us to dock at Station 7. A military escort is waiting. Acknowledged, Minho replied. He turned to his crew. Whatever happens next, I want you all to know that serving with you was the greatest honor of my life. You are the finest crew in the fleet, and I'm proud of every one of you. Commander Deho stepped forward. Sir, permission to speak freely? Always. We knew what we were doing when we followed you. We made our choice. Whatever punishment comes, we'll face it together. The crew nodded in agreement. Minho felt his throat tighten with emotion. These were his people. The ships docked at Station 7. Military police were waiting. They escorted Minho and his senior officers to a shuttle that took them down to Earth, to Geneva, where the military tribunal would be held. The courtroom was packed. Citizens filled every seat, and thousands more waited outside. The judges sat behind a long bench, 5 admirals who would decide Minho's fate. The charges were read: disobeying direct orders, unauthorized military action, risking humanity's position in the Galactic Council, and causing the deaths of service members under his command. The trial lasted 3 days. Prosecutors argued that Minho had endangered all of humanity with his reckless actions. Defense attorneys countered with evidence of the Vraxian conspiracy, the planned attack on human colonies, and the Galactic Council's betrayal. Lieutenant Kim Suman testified, her voice strong despite her injuries. She described the assassination, the evidence she had gathered, and the choice Minho had faced. If the captain had done nothing, she said, the Vraxian fleet would have attacked our colonies. Thousands would have died. He saved lives, not endangered them. Dr. Choi Yuna testified about the autopsy she had performed on Ambassador Park's remains, proving beyond doubt that it was murder, not an accident. Commander Deho testified about the battle, about how the crew had voted unanimously to follow Minho, about how every action had been necessary and proportional. Agent Kang Hyejin presented classified intelligence showing the depth of the conspiracy against humanity, evidence that multiple alien species had been working to contain and control human expansion for decades. Ensign Shin Junho testified about the precursor technology, about how humanity's victory had secured access to knowledge that could transform human civilization. On the 3rd day, Minho himself took the stand. The lead prosecutor, a stern admiral named Hong Giwan, questioned him aggressively. Captain Minho, did you or did you not disobey a direct order from Earth Command? I did, Minho answered simply. And you knew this order came from the highest levels of government? I did, yet you chose to ignore it. Why? Minho looked at the judges, then at the crowded courtroom. Because sometimes doing the right thing means disobeying the wrong order. Ambassador Park Ji-woo believed in justice and standing up for what's right. He died for those beliefs. If I had followed orders, if I had returned to Earth and waited while politicians debated and the council covered up the truth, how many more would have died? How many more ambassadors? How many colonists? How many children? The law exists for a reason, Hong pressed. Military discipline exists for a reason. If every captain decides for themselves which orders to follow, we have chaos. You're right, Minho agreed. But we also have to remember why we have laws, why we have military discipline. It's to protect people, to serve justice. When the law becomes a shield for murderers, when discipline becomes an excuse for inaction, then something is wrong. I chose to act because I believed that protecting human lives was more important than protecting my career. The courtroom erupted in applause. The judges had to call for order. After 3 days of testimony, the judges deliberated. They took only 2 hours to reach a verdict. The head judge, Admiral Im Soo-jin, stood to read the verdict. The courtroom fell silent. Captain Han Minho, this tribunal has reviewed all evidence and testimony. We find that while you did technically disobey orders, you acted to prevent an imminent threat to human lives. The evidence shows that your actions, while unauthorized, were both necessary and effective. Furthermore, the evidence of conspiracy against humanity by the Galactic Council and the Vraxian Empire justifies your response under the doctrine of defensive action. Admiral Im paused, looking at Minho. This tribunal finds you not guilty of all charges. Furthermore, in recognition of your service to humanity, you are hereby promoted to the rank of Admiral and given command of the 1st Expeditionary Force, which will be created to protect human interests throughout the galaxy. The courtroom exploded with cheers. Outside, the crowds roared their approval. Minho stood in shock, hardly believing what he had heard. His crew rushed forward, embracing him. Daeho was grinning like a fool. Suman was crying. Even stoic Yuna was smiling. President Song Mira appeared on every screen in the courtroom. She looked tired but determined. People of Earth and all who are watching throughout the galaxy, hear this. We are done being treated as children among the stars. We are done accepting lies and cover-ups. We are done allowing others to dictate our destiny. She paused, letting her words sink in. From this day forward, Earth will no longer accept Galactic Council oversight of human space. We will no longer allow Council investigators to determine the truth of crimes against humanity. We demand equal representation in the Council, equal voting rights, and equal respect. Any species that threatens human colonies will face immediate military response. The Sigma sector is now under human protection, and those responsible for Ambassador Park Ji-woo's murder will face justice, with or without Council cooperation. The galaxy reacted with shock. Some species were outraged. The Vraxian Empire, already humiliated, could do nothing but accept the new reality. But other species, smaller ones who had also chafed under the Council's authority, reached out to Earth. They wanted alliance, protection, partnership. Within weeks, the Free Worlds Coalition was formed. Humanity at its center, joined by the Centauri Union, the Novan Collective, and the Meridian Assembly. Together, they represented a new power in the galaxy, one that would not bow to the old ways. Agent Kang Hyejin, now Director of Intelligence for the Coalition, tracked down the Vraxian officials who had ordered Park's assassination. A special operations team led by Suman captured them and brought them to Earth. They were tried, convicted, and imprisoned. Justice was served. A memorial was built in Geneva on the shore of Lake Lehman. It was a simple stone monument with the names of all who had died in the conflict. At the top was Ambassador Park Ji-woo's name. Below it, the inscription read, "They thought our ideals made us weak. They were wrong." Admiral Han Minho stood before the memorial on a cold morning, 6 months after the trial. Behind him, construction crews were building the shipyards for the 1st Expeditionary Force. 50 new ships, the most advanced humanity had ever built, would soon be ready. Thinking about him? Commander Daeho asked, walking up to stand beside Minho. He was Captain Daeho now, commanding the Indomitable. Every day, Minho replied, I wonder if he would approve of what we've done. He believed in justice. He believed humanity should stand tall among the stars. I think he'd be proud. They stood in silence for a while, watching the sun rise over the lake. The new ship is ready, Daeho said finally. They're waiting for you to name her. Minho smiled. I already have. She'll be called the Ambassador Park Ji-woo. It seems fitting. The new flagship was enormous, twice the size of the Indomitable. She was beautiful and deadly, a symbol of humanity's new place in the galaxy. Minho's crew was already aboard, along with new recruits eager to serve in the Expeditionary Force. Lieutenant Commander Kim Suman commanded intelligence operations. Dr. Choi Yuna was Chief Medical Officer for the entire fleet. Director Kang Hyejin coordinated with allies across the galaxy. Lieutenant Commander Shin Junho led the Science Division, studying the precursor technology. Captain Oh Sora, Captain Bae Ji-hoon, and Captain Ryu Sung-hyun each commanded their own battle groups. The four captains who had started this had become heroes, and their crews had become legends. On the day of the fleet's departure, Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of the Ambassador Park Jiwoo looking at his crew. They came from all over Earth, from every nation and culture. They were humanity's best, and they were ready. Today we head into unknown space, Minho said. We go not as conquerors, but as explorers. Not as tyrants, but as protectors. We carry with us the memory of Ambassador Park Jiwoo, and all those who believed that humanity deserved a place among the stars. He paused, looking at each face. The galaxy thought it knew us. They thought we were weak, that we would accept their rules, their authority, their judgment. They thought wrong. We have shown them what humanity truly is. We adapt, we innovate, we stand together, and we never, ever surrender. Lieutenant Kim Soo-min woke up in pain. Every part of her body hurt, but especially her head. She opened her eyes slowly and saw white ceiling panels above her. Medical bay. She was on the Indomitable. Easy, a gentle voice said. Dr. Choi Yuna appeared in her view, holding a medical scanner. You have a concussion and 3 broken ribs. Don't try to sit up yet. The ambassador, Soo-min said. Her voice came out as a croak. Yuna's face became sad. I'm sorry. He was already gone when we arrived. Soo-min closed her eyes. She had known, but hearing it made it real. It wasn't an accident. I need to speak to Captain Minho. He's on his way. Minutes later, Minho entered the medical bay with Commander Daeho behind him. The captain looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. He pulled up a chair and sat beside Soo-min's bed. Tell me everything, he said. Soo-min told him about the security system failure, about the bioscanners going offline, about her lost communication with station security. She told him about the explosions, about the timing that seemed too perfect. I had copied some files earlier, she added. Communications between the Vraxian delegation and someone else. I couldn't decrypt them, but they felt wrong. The files are in my personal storage. Minho nodded. We'll get them. Rest now. We need you healthy. As Minho stood to leave, Soo-min grabbed his sleeve. Captain, they murdered him. They murdered our ambassador in cold blood, and the council is calling it an accident. We can't let them get away with this. Minho's expression was grim. We won't, I promise you. Back in his ready room, Minho met with his senior officers. Commander Daeho was there, along with a woman Minho had never seen before. She was tall and slim, with short hair and eyes that seemed to look through people. Captain Minho, she said. I'm Agent Kang Hyejin, Earth Intelligence Services. I was already on the station investigating suspicious Vraxian activity. Now I'm here to help you find who killed Ambassador Park. Do we know anything yet? Minho asked. Daeho pulled up a holographic display. We have the files Lieutenant Kim copied. Ensign Shin Junho has been working on them. He's our best cryptographer. A young man appeared on the screen, looking excited despite the serious situation. Captain, I've broken the encryption. What we have here is proof that the Vraxian High Command ordered the assassination. They wanted to stop Ambassador Park from securing the Sigma sector for humanity. Why? Minho asked. What's so special about that sector? Agent Hyejin leaned forward. That's what I was investigating. The Sigma sector doesn't just have minerals and resources. It has something else. Ancient technology, left behind by a race that died out millions of years ago. Technology that could change everything. The room went quiet. Everyone understood what that meant. Whoever controlled that technology would control the galaxy. There's more. Hyejin continued. The Vraxians didn't act alone. Several members of the Galactic Council knew about the plot. They let it happen because they're afraid of humanity. They've been working together secretly to keep us contained, to stop us from becoming too powerful. Minho felt anger burning in his chest. How long has this been going on? Years, maybe decades. Ambassador Park was getting too close to the truth. He had to be eliminated. Daeho cursed softly. So what do we do? Earth High Command won't authorize military action based on this. They'll want to negotiate, to gather more evidence, to wait for the Council to investigate itself. The Council will bury the truth, Minho said. They always do. His communicator beeped. Captain, priority message from Earth. Minho activated the display. Admiral Yu Jae-sung appeared, looking serious. Captain Minho, you are ordered to stand down and return to Earth for consultations. Do not take any military action. That's a direct order. The transmission ended. Minho stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Captain, Daiho said carefully. What are you going to do? Before Minho could answer, another message came through. This one was audio only, encrypted on a private channel. Admiral Yu's voice spoke quietly. Minho, officially, I'm ordering you home. Unofficially, I'm telling you that a Vraxian strike fleet is assembling near human space. They plan to attack our colonies in the next 48 hours. The Council knows and is doing nothing. Earth's government is debating what to do, but by the time they decide, it will be too late. I can't send our fleet without authorization, but if a single captain decided to act on his own to protect human lives, well, I couldn't stop him, could I? 3 more ships are in the area, all commanded by captains who believe in justice. Do what you think is right. You out? Minho looked at his officers. Daiho was watching him carefully. Agent Hyjin had a small smile on her face. If you disobey orders, Daiho said, you'll be court-martialed. We all will. I know. Your career will be over. I know that too. And you're going to do it anyway. Minho stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars filled the darkness. Somewhere out there, Vraxian warships were preparing to attack human homes. Somewhere out there, aliens were laughing about how they had killed a human ambassador and gotten away with it. Park Ji-woo believed in peace. Minho said quietly. He believed in diplomacy and understanding. He spent his life building bridges. And they killed him for it. They killed him because he was good at his job, because he was close to securing humanity's future. And now they plan to attack our colonies to kill more of our people. He turned to face his crew. I joined Earth Defense Forces to protect humanity, not to follow orders blindly while our people are murdered. If we do nothing, if we wait for the Council to investigate itself, how many more will die? How many more ambassadors? How many colonists? How many children? None, sir, Daiho said firmly. If we act, exactly. Minho's voice grew stronger. Contact Captains Osora, Bae Ji-hoon, and Ryu Sung-hyun. Tell them what we know. Tell them what we plan to do. Any who want to join us are welcome. Any who don't, I understand. Where are we going? Hyejin asked. Minho smiled, but it was not a kind smile. Agent Hyejin, you said you were investigating Vraxian activity. Do you know where their forward base is? The secret one they think we don't know about? Yes, the Arcturus system. It's where their strike fleet is assembling. Then that's where we're going. Minho activated the ship-wide communications. All hands, this is the captain. We have evidence that Ambassador Park Ji-woo was murdered by the Vraxian Empire with the knowledge of the Galactic Council. We also have intelligence that Vraxian forces are preparing to attack human colonies. Earth Command has ordered us to stand down. I am disobeying that order. We are going to strike the Vraxian base, destroy their fleet, and send a message to the galaxy. Any crew member who does not wish to participate can leave now. And I will note in my log that you objected. You will not be held responsible for my actions. You have 5 minutes to decide. Minho closed the channel and waited. The 5 minutes felt like forever. Then his communications officer spoke. Captain, we're receiving responses from the crew. All departments report ready for combat. No one is leaving, sir. They're all with you. Minho felt something tight in his chest loosen. And the other ships? Captains Osora, Bae Ji-hoon, and Ryu Sung-hyun all confirm. They're joining us. Captain O says, and I quote, "It's about time someone did something." Daiho grinned. So we have 4 ships against a Vraxian battle fleet. Interesting odds. We've faced worse, Minho said. Set course for Arcturus, maximum speed, and send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them we're coming for justice one way or another. The Indomitable's engines flared to life and the ship jumped into hyperspace. Behind it, 3 more human warships followed. 4 ships against an empire, but they were human ships. And the Vraxians were about to learn what that meant. The Galactic Council station floated in the darkness of space like a giant metal flower. Its silver panels caught the light from the distant star, making it shine against the black void. Inside, thousands of aliens from hundreds of worlds walked through the wide corridors, talking in languages that sounded like music, growls, and electronic beeps. Ambassador Park Ji-woo walked slowly down the diplomatic corridor, his shoes clicking on the polished floor. He was tired. The meeting had lasted 7 hours, and every minute had been a fight. The Vraxians wanted the Sigma sector. So did 3 other alien races. And all of them seemed to agree on one thing: humans should not have it. Jiwoo was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen too much. He had spent 20 years representing Earth among the stars, and he knew how the game was played. The aliens smiled and spoke of peace, but their words hid sharp teeth. They feared humanity. Not because humans were strong, but because humans were unpredictable. Humans asked questions. Humans did not follow the old rules. Behind him, Lieutenant Kim Soo-min followed at a respectful distance. She was young, barely 30, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her hand never moved far from the weapon at her side. She had been watching the Vraxian delegation all day, and something felt wrong. Their leader, Counselor Tarak, had smiled too much. His words had been too smooth. "Ambassador," Soo-min said quietly, "I think we should take the secondary route back to your quarters." Jiwoo stopped and turned to look at her. "Why?" "Just a feeling, sir." Jiwoo smiled. He trusted feelings. In his experience, instinct kept you alive longer than logic. "All right, Lieutenant, lead the way." They turned down a different corridor, one used by maintenance crews. The lights here were dimmer, and the walls were plain metal instead of decorated panels. Soo-min's hand moved to her communicator. "This is Lieutenant Kim to security station. Running a bioscan on the ambassador's quarters, do you copy?" Static answered her. Then silence. "That's not right," she muttered. She tried again. "Security station, please respond." Nothing. Jiwoo felt his stomach tighten. "Can you reach the ship?" Soo-min switched frequencies. Lieutenant Kim to the Indomitable. "Come in, Indomitable." "Indomitable here," a voice crackled back. "What's your status, Lieutenant?" "Get Captain Minho. Now." Seconds felt like hours. Then a new voice came through, deep and calm. "This is Captain Han Minho. What's happening, Kim?" "Sir, I've lost contact with station security and the ambassador's bioscanners aren't responding. I think someone has tampered with the security system." There was a pause. "Get him out of there. Return to the ship immediately." "Yes, sir." Soo-min grabbed Jiwoo's arm. "Ambassador, we need to move, now." They started running. The corridor stretched ahead of them, and Soo-min's mind raced through the station layout. They needed to reach the docking bay, but that was 3 sections away. Too far. They needed a closer, safe location. "The emergency pods," she said. "Section 9 has escape pods." They turned another corner. The lights flickered. Then, behind them, they heard a sound that made Soo-min's blood run cold. An explosion. Not close, but not far either. The floor shook slightly under their feet. "Move!" Soo-min pushed Jiwoo forward, and they ran faster. They were 50 meters from Section 9 when the second explosion hit. This one was massive. The shockwave threw them forward, and Soo-min felt heat wash over her back. She hit the floor hard, her head bouncing off the metal. Pain exploded through her skull and the world became blurry. She tried to get up, tried to reach for Jiwoo, but her body would not obey. Through the ringing in her ears, she heard alarms blaring. Red emergency lights flooded the corridor. And then she saw Jiwoo. The ambassador lay 10 feet away, not moving. A piece of metal debris had struck him. Soo-min could see that he was dead, and her heart broke. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Heavy boots. Station security finally arriving, but too late. Always too late. Strong hands lifted Soo-min. Someone was talking to her, but the words sounded like they were coming from underwater. She tried to speak, tried to tell them about the bioscanners, about the security failure, about the Vraxians, but darkness swallowed her and she knew nothing more. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Han Minho stood on the bridge, staring at the view screen. The diplomatic station filled most of the image, peaceful and bright. But Minho's hands were clenched into fists, and his jaw was tight. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "we're receiving an emergency broadcast from the station. There's been an explosion in the diplomatic sector." "Show me." The screen changed. A Galactic Council spokesperson appeared, an alien with blue skin and 4 arms. Its voice was calm, almost bored. There has been an unfortunate accident in Section 8 of the diplomatic wing. A reactor malfunction caused an explosion. We are investigating. All ambassadors are advised to remain in their quarters until further notice. Reactor malfunction, Minho repeated slowly. His voice was soft, but everyone on the bridge heard the anger in it. Commander Lee Daeho, Minho's second-in-command, stepped closer. He was shorter than Minho, with a round face that usually smiled easily. But he was not smiling now. Captain, Lieutenant Kim's last transmission indicated security system tampering. This was no accident. I know. Minho's voice was ice. Get me a casualty report, now. The next few minutes passed in terrible silence. The crew worked at their stations, but everyone kept glancing at their captain. Minho stood like a statue, not moving, barely breathing. Then the communications officer spoke again. Sir, we have confirmation. Ambassador Park Ji-woo is dead. Lieutenant Kim Soo-min is in critical condition in the station's medical bay. Minho closed his eyes. Park Ji-woo had been more than just an ambassador. He had been a friend. They had met 15 years ago, during the first human contact with the Galactic Council. Ji-woo had believed in peace and diplomacy and finding common ground. And now he was dead, killed by the same aliens he had tried to befriend. Sir, Daeho said quietly. What are your orders? Minho opened his eyes. They were cold now, like chips of black ice. Get Dr. Choi Yuna. Tell her to take a medical team to the station. I want Lieutenant Kim brought back here as soon as she can be moved. And I want a full forensics team on that explosion site. The council won't allow. I don't care what the council allows. Minho turned to face his crew. An Earth ambassador has been murdered. This was an act of war. We will find out who did this, and we will make them pay. Prepare the ship for combat operations. Contact Earth Command and inform them of the situation. Yes, sir. As the crew rushed to follow his orders, Minho turned back to the view screen. The diplomatic station still floated there, peaceful and bright. But Minho saw it differently now. He saw a place where his friend had been murdered, a place where Earth's voice had been silenced. The aliens thought they could kill a human ambassador and face no consequences. They thought humanity would accept their lies about reactor malfunctions and accidents. They were wrong. Minho's hands unclenched slowly. When he spoke again, his voice was calm, but it carried to every corner of the bridge. They have made a terrible mistake. They think we are weak. They think we will accept this. But they are about to learn something about humanity. We do not forget. We do not forgive. And we never, ever let an attack go unanswered. Outside the ship, the stars burned cold and distant. War was coming to the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same again.